January 16, 1942. A plane crashes into Table Rock Mountain near Las Vegas. Everyone on board dies instantly. Among the victims, one name stops America's heart: Carole Lombard, Hollywood's highest-paid actress, America's sweetheart, and the wife of the biggest movie star in the world. Clark Gable races to the crash site. What he finds there will break him forever. And 4 weeks later, it will send him to war. Not because of duty, not because of patriotism, because he has nothing left to lose. This is episode 1, before the crash, before the war, before everything shattered. This is how a man became a king, and how a king found the only thing that ever mattered: love. February 1st, 1901, Cadiz, Ohio. A baby boy is born to a family that doesn't want him. William Clark Gable. His mother dies when he's 7 months old. His father, an oil driller, remarries and moves constantly. West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Oklahoma, following work, following money that never quite arrives. Young Clark grows up unwanted. His father sees him as a burden. His stepmother does her best, but the poverty is crushing. They live in oil camps, rough places, violent places, places where boys learn to fight or get broken. Clark learns to fight, but he also learns something else. He learns to watch people, to study them, to understand how they move, how they talk, how they command attention. He watches the oil workers, the way the strong ones carry themselves, the way respect is earned through toughness, the way men create personas that protect them from a hard world. Clark starts building his own persona. Even as a teenager, he practices a particular way of walking, a certain tilt of the head, a smile that promises danger and charm in equal measure. He doesn't know it yet, but he's already becoming Clark Gable. At 16, he quits school. His father wants him in the oil fields, expects him to drill like everyone else, to accept the hard, dirty, anonymous life of a working man. Clark refuses. He wants something more, something bigger. He just doesn't know what yet. Then he sees a play. A traveling theater company comes through town. Clark watches from the cheap seats, and something clicks. Acting. That's the answer. That's the escape. His father laughs at him. Acting is for sissies, for dreamers, for fools who end up starving. But Clark doesn't care. He's already decided he'll become an actor or die trying. 1920s. Clark Gable is nobody. A tall, awkward young man with big ears and bad teeth, working odd jobs and trying to break into theater. He joins traveling acting troupes, gets small roles, terrible pay, sleeping in boarding houses, eating when he can. This is the reality of acting for most people. Not glamour, just grinding poverty with occasional applause. But Clark learns. He studies the successful actors, copies their techniques, improves his voice, his posture, his presence. He meets Josephine Dillon, an acting coach 14 years older than him. She sees potential in this rough oil field kid, sees something that can be shaped. She teaches him everything: voice control, movement, how to command a stage, how to make people unable to look away, and she falls in love with him. They marry in 1924. Clark is 23, Josephine is 37. It's not romance, it's transaction. She gets a project, he gets training and support. Clark continues to improve. His voice deepens, his presence grows. He fixes his teeth, changes his hair, transforms himself from oilfield kid to something approaching leading man. But Broadway doesn't want him. Too rough, too raw, too much masculinity and not enough refinement. So Clark goes west, to Hollywood. 1924. Hollywood is exploding. Silent films are making stars overnight. Maybe Clark Gable can be one of them. He can't. He gets small roles, extra work, bit parts, nothing substantial. Studios look at him and see the same thing Broadway saw. Too rough, those ears, that jaw. Not handsome in the way leading men are supposed to be handsome. Clark is getting older, nearly 30. For actors, that's dangerously late to be starting a real career. Then everything changes. Sound arrives in film. 1927. The jazz singer. Suddenly, voices matter. Stage training matters, and Clark Gable has both. His voice is remarkable, deep, masculine, with a slight rasp that suggests both danger and tenderness. Women respond to it, men respect it. Slowly, the roles get bigger. 1930. MGM signs him to a contract. MGM, the biggest studio in Hollywood, more stars than there are in heaven. Clark Gable is about to become one of them. 1931. Clark Gable is 30 years old. MGM starts putting him in featured roles, not leads yet, but substantial parts, and women start noticing. There's something about him on screen, something raw, masculine, dangerous. He doesn't play gentlemen, he plays men, real men, rough men, men who take what they want. In an era of refined leading men with perfect manners, Clark Gable is different. He's aggressive, physical, sexual, and Depression-era audiences eat it up. 1932. Red Dust. Clark plays a rubber plantation owner opposite Jean Harlow. The chemistry is explosive. The film is a massive hit. Suddenly, Clark Gable is a star. MGM knows what they have now. They start building him carefully, better roles, bigger budgets, smart pairings with top actresses. 1934. It happened one night. A romantic comedy on loan to Columbia Pictures. Clark doesn't want to do it. Thinks it's beneath him. MGM forces him to as punishment for some forgotten conflict. The film wins 5 Academy Awards, including Best Actor for Clark Gable. At 33 years old, the oilfield kid from Ohio is now an Oscar winner and the biggest male star in Hollywood. The press starts calling him the king of Hollywood. At first, it's a joke. Then it becomes true, because nobody can match his combination of masculinity, charm, and box office power. Women want him. Men want to be him. Studios want to own him. But there's a problem. Clark's personal life is messy. He divorced Josephine in 1930, married a socialite named Rhea Langham in 1931. She's older, wealthy, sophisticated. She helps polish his image, introduces him to the right people. But Clark doesn't love her. The marriage is another transaction, another step up the ladder. He has affairs, lots of them, with actresses, socialites, anyone who catches his eye. Hollywood knows about it. The press keeps it quiet because that's how Hollywood works in the 1930s. Clark is becoming jaded. Success has come, but it feels hollow. The king has everything except the one thing that matters. Then, in 1936, he meets her, Carole Lombard. Carole Lombard, born Jane Alice Peters in Fort Wayne, Indiana, moved to Los Angeles as a child, started acting at 12. By 1936, she's one of the biggest stars in Hollywood. Comedienne, beautiful, funny, real, no pretense, no Hollywood phoniness. She swears like a sailor, plays practical jokes, doesn't care what people think. In a town full of manufactured personalities, Carole Lombard is authentically herself. She's been married before, to William Powell, divorced amicably, no bitterness. They remain friends. That's how Carole operates. No drama, no nonsense. She's also the highest paid actress in Hollywood, $500,000 a year. In 1936, that's an impossible fortune. Carole doesn't need a man for security or career advancement. She doesn't need anything from anyone, which is exactly why Clark Gable falls in love with her. They meet on the set of No Man of Her Own in 1932, but Clark is married to Rhea then. Nothing happens, just professional courtesy. 1936. They meet again at a party. Clark is still married. Carole is single. But something is different now. Chemistry. Immediate, undeniable, electric. They start talking. Carole makes Clark laugh, actually laugh, not the practice charm he uses on everyone else. Real laughter, real conversation. For the first time in his life, Clark meets someone who sees through him, who doesn't care about the king of Hollywood persona, who wants to know the real man underneath. And Carole is fearless. She teases him, mocks him, doesn't let him get away with his usual smoothness. Clark is fascinated, then obsessed, then in love. The affair begins quietly. They have to be careful. Clark is still married. Hollywood has morals clauses. Scandal could destroy careers. But the relationship deepens quickly because for both of them, this is different from anything before. Carole brings out a side of Clark nobody else sees. Playful, genuine, happy. Not the movie star, just the man. They hunt together, fish together, spend time on Carole's ranch. She teaches him to shoot. He teaches her to ride horses properly. Away from Hollywood, away from the cameras, they build something real. But Clark's marriage to Rhea stands in the way. Divorce in 1930s. Hollywood is complicated, expensive, potentially career-damaging. Carole doesn't push. She waits, because she knows what they have is worth waiting for. 1939. Finally. After years of negotiations and legal complications, Clark's divorce from Rhea is finalized. He's free, and he knows exactly what he wants. 1939. The most anticipated film in Hollywood history is in production, Gone with the Wind. Based on Margaret Mitchell's best-selling novel about the Civil War and Reconstruction, every actor in Hollywood wants a role. Every actress wants to play Scarlett O'Hara. The role of Rhett Butler is Clark Gable's from the beginning. The book even describes Rhett as looking like Clark Gable. The public demands it. The studio agrees, but Clark doesn't want to do it. The role is too big, the expectations too high, the pressure too intense. If Gone with the Wind fails, everyone will blame him. If it succeeds, it won't be because of him, it'll be despite him. He tries to get out of it. MGM won't let him. David O. Selznick, the producer, won't let him. The entire world won't let him. So Clark Gable becomes Rhett Butler. The production is a nightmare. Director George Cukor is fired. Victor Fleming takes over. The script is constantly rewritten. Vivian Leigh playing Scarlett is difficult. The shooting schedule stretches for months. Clark hates every minute of it. The role requires him to cry on screen. He thinks that's unmanly, refuses. They argue. Eventually, he agrees to shoot it, but he's convinced it will destroy his career. Carole visits the set. She calms him down, tells him he's brilliant, that Rhett Butler is the role he was born to play. She's right, of course, but Clark won't believe it until he sees the finished film. December 15th, 1939. Gone with the Wind premieres in Atlanta, the most massive film premiere in history. Crowds estimated at 300,000 people. The entire city shuts down. Clark attends with Carole. They watch the film. It's 4 hours long, epic, sweeping, emotional, and Clark is perfect in it. Rhett Butler, the charming scoundrel, the man who loves Scarlett but won't grovel for her, the famous final line that will echo through cinema history forever. The film is a sensation. Critics rave, audiences weep. Box office records shatter. Gone with the Wind becomes the highest-grossing film ever made. It will hold that record for decades. Adjusted for inflation, it remains the most successful film in history. Clark Gable is no longer just the king of Hollywood. He's now cinematic immortality. But he doesn't care about any of that, because 3 months earlier, on March 29, 1939, he married Carole Lombard, finally, after years of waiting. After the divorce was finalized, after all the obstacles were removed, they marry in a small private ceremony in Kingman, Arizona. No Hollywood spectacle, no press, just two people making a commitment. Clark is 38 years old. He's been married twice before, slept with dozens of women, had everything Hollywood can offer. But this is the first time he's actually been in love, and Carole feels the same way. 1939 to 1941. The happiest years of Clark Gable's life. He's married to Carole Lombard. They buy a ranch in Encino, 20 acres, away from Hollywood, away from the studios, their private kingdom. Carole is the perfect wife for Clark. She doesn't try to change him, doesn't nag him, doesn't demand he be someone he's not. She understands his moods, his need for solitude sometimes, his love of hunting and fishing, his essential masculinity. And Clark adores her. Completely. Totally. They hunt together in the mornings, come home covered in mud and laughing. Carole can outshoot most men. Clark loves that about her. They entertain friends at the ranch, not Hollywood parties, real gatherings, BBQs, card games, Carole cooking dinner while Clark tends the horses. For the first time in his life, Clark has a real home. a real partner, real happiness. In Hollywood, they're the golden couple, America's king and queen. Every magazine wants photos of them. Every gossip columnist follows their every move. But Clark and Carole mostly ignore all of that. They do their jobs, make their movies, then retreat to the ranch. Clark's career continues strong. He makes Adventure, Boomtown, Comrade X, good films, successful films. The box office stays strong. Carole's career is equally successful. To Be or Not to Be, her final completed film, will be released posthumously to critical acclaim. They talk about having children. Carole wants a baby. Clark is hesitant. He's nearly 40, already has older children from previous relationships he barely sees. But Carole is persistent. They agree to try soon. December 7th, 1941, Pearl Harbor. Everything changes. America is at war. Hollywood mobilizes, actors enlist, directors make propaganda films, studios churn out patriotic content. Clark is 40 years old, too old for the draft, too valuable to MGM. He could sit out the war in complete safety, making movies, supporting the effort from a distance, but Carole won't let him sit still. She's a passionate patriot, furious about Pearl Harbor, determined to help. January 1942, the U.S. Treasury asks Carole to headline a war bond tour, travel to Indiana, her home state, rally support, sell bonds to fund the war effort. Carole agrees immediately. Clark doesn't want her to go. He has a bad feeling, can't explain it, just a sense of dread, but Carole insists. This is important. Americans need to support the war effort. She can help. They argue about it, one of their few real fights. Carole wins. She always wins their arguments. Clark makes her promise. Take the train back. Don't fly. The weather in January is dangerous. Train is safer. Carole agrees. She'll take the train back. She's lying. But she doesn't know it will matter. January 12th, 1942. Carole leaves for Indianapolis. Clark waves goodbye from the ranch. He'll never see her alive again. Indianapolis, January 15th, 1942. Carole Lombard's war bond rally is a massive success. She stands on a platform in downtown Indianapolis. Thousands of people gather. She gives a rousing speech about duty, sacrifice, and defeating tyranny. She's electric, funny, passionate, real. The crowd loves her. They buy bonds. $2 million worth in a single day. An incredible amount for a small city. Carole's mother and Clark's press agent accompany her on the tour. They're both proud, exhausted, but proud. The tour ends. Time to return to California, to Clark, to home. They discuss transportation. The original plan was to take the train. Clark wanted her to take the train, but Carole is exhausted. The train will take 3 days. She misses Clark, wants to get home faster. TWA Flight 3 departs for Los Angeles that evening. She can be home by morning. Her mother pleads with her, take the train, it's safer. Clark wanted you to take the train, but Carole is stubborn, she's tired. She wants her husband, she wants her bed. They flip a coin. Heads, they take the train. Tails, they fly. Tails. January 16th, 1942. 7:07 p.m. TWA Flight 3 departs Indianapolis, a DC-3 aircraft, 15 passengers, 3 crew members. The flight makes scheduled stops in Kansas City, Albuquerque, and Las Vegas for refueling. Las Vegas, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. The plane refuels, takes off for the final leg to California. 23 miles southwest of Las Vegas, the plane climbs to avoid bad weather. The pilot doesn't realize how close he is to Mount Potosi. Table Rock Mountain, 7,000 feet elevation, 7:20 p.m. The plane crashes into the mountain full speed. Everyone dies instantly. The crash ignites the plane's fuel. Fire erupts on the mountainside. Carole Lombard, her mother, Clark's press agent, 12 other passengers, 3 crew members, all dead. In Encino, Clark Gable is asleep. He doesn't know yet. Won't know for hours. But somewhere deep inside, he already knows. The dread he felt was real. Early morning, January 17th, 1942. The phone rings at the Encino Ranch. Clark answers, still half asleep, expecting it to be Carole calling from Las Vegas, telling him she's on the final leg home, that she'll be there soon. It's not Carole. It's MGM Howard Strickling, the studio's head of publicity. His voice is strange. Careful. There's been an accident, a plane crash near Las Vegas. Carole's plane. Clark's entire world stops. He asks the only question that matters. Is she alive? Strickling doesn't know yet. Search and rescue teams are climbing the mountain. The crash site is in a remote area, difficult terrain, nighttime. They won't know for hours, but there's no way anyone survived that crash. Strickling doesn't say that part out loud. He doesn't have to. Clark hangs up, stands there in his empty house. The house he shared with Carole, the house where they were happy, and he knows with absolute certainty she's gone. MGM sends people to the ranch. Friends arrive, everyone trying to comfort him, telling him there's still hope. Search teams are looking. Maybe there are survivors, but Clark knows better. He gets in his car, drives to Las Vegas, drives through the night. Nobody can stop him. He has to see her, has to know, has to be there. Las Vegas. Morning. Clark arrives at the base of Mount Potosi. Rescue teams are still climbing. The crash site is steep, dangerous, covered in wreckage and fire damage. MGM executives beg him not to go up. Don't see it. Remember her the way she was. Clark ignores them, starts climbing. The mountain is brutal. Rocks, ice, altitude. He doesn't care. He climbs. Hours later, he reaches the crash site. What he sees will haunt him for the rest of his life. Wreckage scattered across the mountain, burned metal, charred earth, bodies, or what's left of them. The impact was catastrophic. The fire was intense. Identification is nearly impossible, but they find Carole, identify her by her jewelry, the ruby and diamond clips Clark gave her. Still on her body. Clark stands there on that mountain, looking at what's left of the woman he loved, the only woman he ever truly loved. And something inside him dies too. The man who climbs down that mountain is not the same man who climbed up. They bring Carole's body down the mountain. The press descends. Photographers, reporters, everyone wanting a piece of the tragedy. Clark Gable, the king of Hollywood, stands in a funeral home in Las Vegas, identifying his wife's remains. The strongest man in movies, the toughest, the most masculine, broken. They ask him what happened. Why did she take the plane? She was supposed to take the train. Clark explains about the coin flip, heads or tails, life or death decided by chance, but he knows it wasn't chance, it was his fault. He asked her not to go on the tour. She insisted. He asked her to take the train. She flew anyway. Maybe if he'd been more forceful. Maybe if he'd refused to let her go. Maybe if he'd gone with her. The guilt will eat at him forever. Carole's funeral is held at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Glendale, January 21st, 1942. Private ceremony. Only close friends and family. Clark stands there in his dark suit, staring at the casket. Not crying, not moving, just staring. They place Carole in a crypt, a temporary place until Clark can figure out something permanent. He will never figure out something permanent. She'll stay there, and eventually he'll join her, but that's 18 years away. Right now, in January 1942, Clark Gable is 41 years old, the biggest movie star in the world, the king of Hollywood, married to the love of his life for less than 3 years, and now she's gone. Friends try to help, tell him it will get better, that time heals, that he'll recover. But Clark knows they're wrong. He'll never recover, never heal, never be the same. The man who was Clark Gable died on that mountain with Carole Lombard. What comes next is something else, something harder, something looking for a way to join her. 4 weeks later, he'll find it. War. Next episode, the day Clark Gable enlisted not for duty, not for patriotism, but because a broken man with nothing left to lose makes the perfect soldier. This is Legends of America.